So even though we are in the middle, or honestly just the beginning of this coronavirus pandemic, this COVID-19 outbreak, pandemic, whatever words you want to use, it's just really bad situation. Obviously, the CDC, public health people are saying to distance, don't go around people, don't gather in large crowds. That's been So I'm in Washington State, and that has we can't have, I think, any meetings above like 50 people. They closed down schools in the state. They closed down gyms. They closed down theaters. All these things, even restaurants, you can only pick up or get it delivered, all to prevent, hopefully, the just exponential increase of this. If people still keep coming together in groups, this is just going to keep spreading more and more. And the thing is, yes, you might be fine if you get this coronavirus. You might be a young, healthy person, but you could potentially give it to somebody else, and it could be deadly if they have a compromised immune system, certain pre-existing conditions that might make it harder for their body to fight off the coronavirus. Or just older folks in general seem to be especially susceptible to dying from the coronavirus. Some of the things I've saw, it's upwards of like 15% of the people, if you get the coronavirus and you're over, I think, 65, it's fatal. So that's really serious. I don't want to get that and give it to anybody, that I know that's in that age bracket, or just anybody in general. I don't want to be the cause of this spreading and just causing more harm and suffering. And so I bring all that up because there still are just 4 states that will be voting tomorrow for the Democratic primary, which is just insane. How can, on one hand, people in government, politicians, tell people, stay away from everybody, don't go, just stay away, don't go to where there might be crowds, big groups of people, social distance, isolate, remove yourself from those situations. And then you tell people, oh no, it's safe to go out and vote in these states. And so the 4 states that will be voting tomorrow, Florida, Ohio, Illinois, Arizona. And Ohio actually tried to postpone or delay their Democratic presidential primary later on due to the coronavirus pandemic that's happening, which was smart on their end. But then a federal judge stepped in and said, no, if I let this go through, it would set a bad precedent. What the fuck is that federal judge talking about? What type of bad precedent does it set by, protecting people's health, treating this from a public health perspective, trying to slow the rate of the spread of the coronavirus? That seems like a pretty good precedent to set with me. I mean, if this stuff happens again in the future during an election cycle, I hope they would postpone it again. And that federal judge is like, that is just ridiculous. It's putting some stupid, ridiculous principle of some precedent, whatever that means to that ridiculous federal judge, above people's health. There will be people who will contract the coronavirus as a result of having or feeling like they have to go out and vote in these 4 states, and it's going to lead to people dying. It's really sick and disgusting when these primaries could have easily been postponed for another couple of months, and it would save people having to decide, do I go out and try to vote knowing that I may well contract coronavirus? And if I'm in one of those vulnerable populations, it could lead to me dying from it. To going out to trying to vote, I could die from that. Or if I'm a pretty healthy person, I could contract it and give it to somebody else, leading to them dying and it spreading more. So this is just really insane that these 4 states, I should give Ohio some credit because they did try to postpone it, and then that stupid federal judge ruled against it. But I mean, you can't have it both ways. You're telling people that we're supposed to isolate and engage in social distancing, just keep our distance from other people, don't go congregate in groups where a lot of people are, and voting, especially in the United States with our lack of polling places, especially in, communities of color. Once the Supreme Court kind of gutted the Voting Rights Act, a lot of polling places were closed, especially in, like I said, low income and communities of color. So I mean, and then let's take Arizona for example. They closed already a third of their polling places before tomorrow's election, and so there are going to be even longer lines when people go out to vote because there's a third less polling stations. And this was in, I believe it's Maricopa County in Arizona, the most populous county there. They closed a third of the polling stations because they were worried that they wouldn't be able to adequately address like the issues around coronavirus and keeping the polling places clean or disinfected or whatnot. So it's like, oh my god, how is closing a third of them going to make it any better? More people will be crammed into these polling places. As a result, it's going to spread even more rapidly. It's like, oh my god, this is like 1984, like fucking George Orwell level shit here. Government's telling us to quarantine, to exercise social distance, don't go around people unless you absolutely have to, don't go around big groups of people. But then, oh no, it's okay, we have these elections, and so just go do that. You might get exposed, you might kill yourself, you might contract it, and as a result somebody else gets it and you kill them as a result. Like, what the fuck? What, this is just, I mean, beyond ridiculous. And I mean, there's so many other states that have already postponed or delayed their primaries. Kentucky delayed theirs 35 days. Puerto Rico's delaying theirs from March 29th to April 26th due to the coronavirus. Georgia postponed theirs. Louisiana changed theirs from April 4th to June 20th. Wyoming also delayed theirs. So it's not like these other states. Like I said, at least Ohio tried. The governor there, I believe it's Governor DeWine, had enough sense to actually know this is a huge public health crisis. This poses a huge threat to just exponentially spreading the coronavirus when people have to go out and vote in these large numbers and be around a lot of people. They can contract it, they could spread it, it's going to make it worse. Ohio was right to do that. I don't know what the fuck the governors in Illinois, Florida, or Arizona are thinking. And so this is just, completely ridiculous to have elections still going on right now when we're in just the beginning of this coronavirus epidemic. And this is basically the week where all of these public health and policy experts have been saying this is the week where people really need to exercise social distancing, stay home, self-quarantine if you can. And then there's still these 4 primary elections going on, and it's just so ridiculous and disheartening to see that I don't know what they're putting people's health and well-being, I don't know, just totally on the back burner for I don't even know what, because again, you could postpone it a month, 2 months, whatever it needs to be, so people can actually go out and exercise their right to vote without fear of getting deathly sick potentially, or catching the virus and then transferring it to somebody else and making them deathly sick. So it's just crazy that this is going on. Honestly, I'm almost at a loss for words because it's just so freaking ridiculous. And then we have the political aspect of it, is what voters in these states are going to show up tomorrow in Arizona, Illinois, Ohio, and Florida, because again, the population that this coronavirus impacts the most negatively is older folks over 65, and in the Democratic primary, we have seen that they, by and large, favor Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders, even though, Joe Biden has advocated throughout his career of wanting to make cuts to Social Security, Medicare. Those have always been on the chopping block for Joe Biden, also known as the senator from MBNA. So, I mean, are those older folks who are Biden supporters, are they going to risk potentially catching or contracting the coronavirus by going out to vote, or are they going to make the safe calculation and stay home to protect their health and well-being, as opposed to Bernie supporters who tend to be younger folks under 50, and especially folks under 30 he does really well with. So are they going to turn out in larger numbers than the old folks who are more susceptible to the coronavirus? So it'd be really kind of interesting to see, do people put their own health and well-being before the idea of going out to vote when this pandemic is going on? And that's not, a choice, again, anybody should be having to make right now. These should have been delayed, put them off for a couple months, or however long, public health, CDC recommends, and then implement mail-in ballots. That's definitely one way to potentially get around this. Delay it for 3 or 4 weeks, however long it takes to get that system set up. Mail out ballots to everybody. Send it with a postmarked envelope, the stamp ready. All you got to do is drop it off, in your mailbox, put the little thing up, or just, take it to the post office, wherever. That would have been a much better idea than letting this just frickin' sham of election go on. It's just so ridiculous. And then you have Tom Perez. I think he was being interviewed by Chris Hayes, maybe on MSNBC. I'm pretty sure that's where it was. But anyways, he was saying, well, it's going to be okay, that these states still have their own protocols that they're going to follow, and they're going to make sure it's safe for everybody, and the DNC doesn't have control of that. It's like, okay, but you could at least go out there and say, like, no, I think this is a really stupid and dumb idea to have these elections still taking place while a literal coronavirus pandemic is hitting the United States, and it's going to keep getting worse. And by these letting these elections happen, it's going to speed up the transmission and spread of this, causing more death, harm, and just hardship overall. That's what Tom Perez should have said, but he's just a, corporate sellout. He's a empty suit, and it's just, really disgusting that, people in these positions of power are saying that it's, no, it's fine. Yeah, just go out and vote. Even though the CDC and people in public health are saying you shouldn't be going around a lot of people, it's okay. It's voting. The state parties are going to make sure you're safe. It's like, oh my goodness. So it's just really, again, really disgusting and immoral that these elections are taking place tomorrow. And then it's like, again, if you're in one of those states, what do? If you're part of that vulnerable population, if you have, underlying conditions, or you're a, older person, do you risk, potentially dying to go out and exercise your right to vote? Or if you're a young person, do you go out and vote and just think that you'll be okay, but you might contract it and give it to somebody else that could have some really dire consequences? Again, these are choices that no voter, that anybody shouldn't be having to make those decisions right now. They should have postponed it and delayed it, like all of these other states that I mentioned, because we need to put people's health and the concept of slowing down the spread of this in order to actually, try to just really stop the rapid expansion of it. And again, this is going to cause death and suffering, and it's unnecessary, and just really, really disgusting to see this to see this going on. So anyways, those are my thoughts. I would love to hear yours about these elections still taking place, even though we're in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. And if you're in one of those states, or if you are a voter in one of those states, what are you going to do? Are you going to risk potentially contracting the coronavirus to go out and vote, or are you going to stay home and try to protect your health? That's, again, not a decision anybody should have to make, but people are being forced to make, and it's really sad and disgusting. Peace, much love. Bernie 2020, not me, yes.